welcome back to Not Easy Being Geeky. Today we have a really awesome, fun episode. I'm super excited to talk about it. And it's all about R.W.B.Y. For those of you that don't know what R.W.B.Y is, it is an American anime made by Rooster Teeth. Yes, the same people that make Red vs. Blue, also an iconic, amazing show. And it's so fun because it's loosely based off of The Wizard of Oz and other fairy tales, but it's amazing. Mostly towards The Wizard of Oz. And if you don't want any spoilers on the show, definitely go watch it now. I challenge you to catch up to it. There's 7 seasons. You can do it very easily. It's all on Rooster Teeth's website, roosterteeth.com. No, I'm not sponsored. Just love their content. It's also on YouTube. But today we're talking all about my favorite theories and little quirks about R.W.B.Y. And I'm really excited because it's a series I've loved for such a long time. I always get people to watch it. It's always one of the first things I get people to watch when they start to get into anime. It's amazing. I get everybody hooked on it. My brother got me hooked on it, and then I fell in love.
It really is amazing.
Yeah, it's so cool. All the characters are so kick-ass, and it's a bunch of teens, man, and they're training to be huntresses. I can't talk. Huntresses and huntsmen to defeat and to protect their kingdoms from the creatures of Grimm. So the creatures of Grimm are animal-esque creatures. They're kind of emo looking, honestly. They're black and they got red glowing eyes. It's pretty emo. Kick ass though.
They look like shadows of animals.
Yeah, they're a very good way to but they're also show their skeletal structure, which is also cool. But the creatures of Grimm are supposed to be like the exact opposite of what, huntresses and huntsmen are. So it's kind of like a constant battle back and forth between them. The reason I love R.W.B.Y. so much, though, is because, like I said, it's loosely based off of The Wizard of Oz, which it took me forever to realize that until it finally hit me one day, like, oh my God, this is The Wizard of Oz. And if you're like me, you felt so stupid if you didn't realize it till just now.
I didn't realize it until you pointed it out to me towards like the
end to
last season. Yeah,
it's like the 5th season. Yeah. I was like, by the way, it's The Wizard of Oz, and you're like, what? But basically, spoilers ahead coming now. So pause this if you haven't seen it. Go watch all of R.W.B.Y. and then come back and listen to it. I challenge you. You can finish it very quickly. Yes, there's 7 seasons, but the beginning seasons, pretty short episodes until it gets more consistent. Also, hang in there because the beginning graphics, people always tell me, they're like, I don't know if I want to watch this because the beginning graphics, not the greatest, but then it grows. It's beautiful. It's beautiful art style stick with it. Trust me. It's amazing. Amazing story, amazing characters. Rooster Teeth kills it.
How many episodes what is it like?
I think it's like 12 episodes a season.
I think it changes.
I think it changes per season.
But it's around that number.
But basically, like, if you were to watch a full-length movie, you could finish it. It's about that length each season. About, like, 2 to 3 hours tops, I'd say, per season. You could really knock it out quick.
Yeah.
But basically, to break it down for you, the people that have seen it and know what I'm talking about, obviously, you kind of either, if you don't know this and I'm just giving you a big ol' epiphany, here's kind of the breakdown of how it reflects The Wizard of Oz. Ozpin is obviously the wizard. He's also, later on, if you get into the 7th season, which is where we are now, he is Ozma. You find out he is Ozma. He's the original person, one of the people that they chose to, fix the world, besides Salem. They tell him, bro, you need to fix this crap. She went crazy. You need to fix it. And he's like, all right, bet. But he's the wizard. R.W.B.Y. is Dorothy, hence Ruby, the ruby red slippers. Crow Bronwyn, which is Ruby's uncle, is the scarecrow. He turns into a crow, if you didn't know that. Ironwood is the Tin Man for obvious reasons. He's got mechanical prosthetics. Dude's ripped to shreds like in like robot crap. It's dope. Glinda Good Witch is the biggest tell-all because she is Glinda, the Good Witch of the South. And then you got Leonardo Lionheart, which is the Cowardly Lion, and Salem, which is the Wicked Witch of the East. It gets so cool, though, because when you start to really know these characters later on, you realize, wow, they could not have nailed this any better, because Leonardo winds up betraying Ozpin and his friends because of how terrified he is of Salem. So he, instead of like in The Wizard of Oz, how he wants courage, he gives into his courage. It's very sad. He winds up dying. More spoilers. She kills him real bad.
Nothing but spoilers.
Yeah, just sorry, but not sorry. I already warned you. If you want the spoilers, cool. I like you people. But it's such a cool story, and I love it so much. You also find out Ozpin's kind of an ass because he's constantly keeping his friends and his people that he's supposed to trust the most in the dark. It's very sad, but you can also understand where he's coming from because he's been betrayed so many times by the people he was supposed to trust. By far, my favorite character is Crow. He is supposed to represent the Scarecrow who wants a brain, you know, in The Wizard of Oz. But he's a drunk. Let's start there. He is a drunk, and he has the most kick-ass fighting style you've ever seen. He's got this dope-ass scythe. He's amazing, and I love his character. He's very got dry humor. I love him. But he's kind of like exactly what the Scarecrow was to Dorothy, in that sense that he's always like watching over her, and he's the first person you see in her allies from the very beginning, same as the Scarecrow was in The Wizard of Oz. It's the first person she meets while on the way to find Oz, you know? And Crow, to me, is like the character you are rooting for through the entire series. Because he has this internal struggle this entire time. Like, his semblance is misfortune. And so he's always constantly like, I don't want to get too close to people because I'm going to screw them over by accident, you know? But anyway, I'm kind of going too deep into Crow right now. Anyway, I'll get back to that later. But because that's a part of a theory I can't wait to discuss. But
you could do a whole episode.
I literally could just talk about Crow for an entire episode. He's my favorite character. I love him so much. Great character. But the first thing I want to talk about is the maidens. And the maidens were given their powers by Ozpin, and they represent the 4 seasons. So fall, winter, spring, summer. This is probably one of my favorite theories about R.W.B.Y, that in the final season, which I think we're coming close to, we're in the 7th season now. They just finished it like 3 months ago, I think, at this point. And I think we got 2 more seasons in us. Maybe 3. I really do think it's going, but based off of the series, they're so crucial with the numbers and everything like that. I really do think it would be like tops 10 seasons. I really don't think it would get past that. I mean, I think that would be pushing it, honestly. I mean, don't get me wrong. I'm totally down to get like a 2nd generation. Would totally be down for that. But I really do think to like wrap up the story, happy ending type thing, it'd be 10 seasons max.
I agree.
I really do feel like that's where the story is heading. I mean, they just are about to start a war, you know, like hardcore, all-out war. But the maidens, I feel like, are what the entire story is about and what it's leading to the final ending. And I think that Team R.W.B.Y is going to be the maidens. And, I mean, I really do think that because in the story of R.W.B.Y, they talk about how the maidens, before they die, the person that was last in their thoughts is the next maiden. They have to be a woman. They have to be in good health. Kind of, there's like rules to the maidens, but the person that is in their final thoughts, that could be good or bad. So somebody could murder them and then they get them powers, which is kind of what they try to avoid at all costs. So those people that Ozpin has entrusted are like the protectors of the maidens. So like you got your man Crow, you got who is the main protector, honestly. He's always like, yo, I gotta protect my girls. And then you got Ironwood, who is the military, and then Glinda, who's the brains, because she's like, yo, you guys are dumb all the time. I'm tired of y'all's crap. Like, every time you see her, she's just like, oh, shut up. Like, great character. She starts off the series. It's crazy. She's kicking ass in the first 10 minutes. You know what I mean? But, so you start with the maidens. That is the whole important thing of RWBY, is the maidens. And I think that each girl is going to be one of the maidens. Obviously, there's 4 girls, Team RWBY, but in RWBY, they stress so much color theory and the number 4. There's 4 kingdoms that each team has to have 4 members. I mean, like throughout the entire series, you just see the number 4 like so many times. And I really feel that this is probably the outcome of who each girl is going to be. Now, we all know that if you've seen RWBY, that Cinder, who is Salem's right-hand bitch, she's like, yo, you better get my shit taken care of, because maybe I won't let you die. I feel like she's probably like, you'll be my successor, to get her to do all her dirty work, but knowing Salem, she's selfish. She's going to kill her off after she does all her good deeds, you know what I mean? I really do think that's where that's going to go. Cinder, I feel like, it is ultimately the end game. So I think that RWBY will become the Fall Maiden, and that would be the end of the series. Her becoming, because she would have to defeat Cinder. You know what I mean? We know 2 of the maidens. Well, 3 of them technically. We don't know the last one, which is the Summer Maiden. So we know that Cinder is technically the Fall Maiden because she stole the powers from the previous one. She killed her. Sorry about, rest in peace, Pyranikos. You tried your best. She's a bad bitch. Great character. Amazing development. Very sad ending to her life. Still one of my favorite characters, even though she only had 3 seasons, sadly. I don't even think that many. Maybe 3, maybe 2. I don't know. Anyway, I really do think that RWBY would probably be the Fall Maiden. I really do think that is a definite for me. The only other one she could possibly be is the Winter Maiden, and that's because Penny just recently became the Winter Maiden. I really don't think that would be the case, though, because like I said, wouldn't be as climactic as her defeating Cinder and becoming the Fall Maiden.
Not to mention the history that Cinder and RWBY have. Exactly.
I really do feel like that would be like, you bitch, you killed me, and then the final thoughts, damn it. You know what I mean? You know what I mean? The person I hate the most, she's kicked my ass 4 times, she made me lose my arm. You know what I mean? Now I got this stupid grim arm that's killing me.
That's right, I forgot.
Yeah, she literally like destroys herself to get this immense power. She's literally becoming a grim to get this immense power, and it's destroying her. So I feel ultimately, because RWBY has silver eyes, she is pure light. You know what I mean? So that's a kick-ass ending if she were to defeat Cinder and then become the Fall Maiden. I really do feel like that's where the story's heading. But I think that RWBY will be the Fall Maiden. I know for a fact, I know this, because Raven is such a piece of shit. Raven is Yang's mom, by the way. Raven is the biggest piece of shit. She deserts her daughter and her family, and then has her own family quote, which is, what is it? What do they call it? What the hell do they call it? It's like their freaking pact, you know what I mean? It's like whatever. Her and Crow are brother and sister, and they grew up in a camp kind of a thing, and they got a squad. Anyway, bullcrap. It's a bunch of thieves and people, but like shitty people, really horrible people, and yet she chose them because she grew up with them over her own freaking daughter, somebody she gave birth to. You're a piece of shit. And she's constantly running away from them, like constantly, just always leaving them because of her own fear, you know what I mean? But she is, spoiler alert, the Spring Maiden, and I really feel that if Raven dies, which obviously she has to die, I'm sorry, she's gonna die. Actually, I'm not sorry. I feel like that would be something that people would be like, finally. You know what I mean? Just for Yang's, like, final, you know what I mean? Because Yang doesn't hate her mom. She loves her mom. But she's also tired of getting hurt by her mom. And I feel like that would make the most sense for Yang to be the Spring Maiden. In her final thoughts, she's going to think of her daughter. You know what I mean? I fucked up as a mom. I was a shit mom, but I still love you. You know what I mean? By the way, sorry you lost your arm. Yeah. But you got a dope Luke Skywalker arm now, robot arm, you know. Anyway, sorry.
There's a lot of
I know there's a lot of prosthetics in this story. Penny's a whole freaking robot. You got Ironwood who's anyway. I feel like because each maiden represents something, it makes sense for them to be in this order. So I feel like Ruby would be the Fall Maiden, which represents choice. Winter would most likely be Weiss. I mean, she represents creation, which makes sense. Her semblance, she could literally do anything with that semblance. You know what I mean? And not to mention, she gets called Ice Princess all the time. So I feel like that's kind of like a foreshadowing / joke on their part to be like, duh, obvious choice. Also, her sister was supposed to be the Winter Maiden. And then Penny, you know, dope ass scene, by the way. And when you find out that Penny could be a maiden, it's like so amazing because for you to be a maiden, you have to have aura. So it's like because Penny has aura in her, she's able to be a maiden, even though she's a robot. It's so dope. You know what I mean? It's like, oh, this awesome scene. You're crying. You're like, Penny! It's just an awesome character too. But obviously, I feel like Penny, like I said, they're foreshadowing her death. So even though she had this amazing rise again from the ashes after she died the first time, she can only be brought back so many times. So eventually, she will not be able to be brought back. But again, like I said, each maiden represents something. Winter is creation, which I feel like would best fit with Weiss. Also, spring is knowledge. So Yang has this internal conflict with her mom the entire time and how she should feel towards her. I feel like she will finally get that like justice kind of thing. Like, yes, I've gained all the knowledge I needed for me to grow as a person. She becomes Spring Maiden. Blake, I feel like this one kind of twists. Like, I feel like this was kind of like a opposite of what you would think kind of a thing. Because the others, to me, you know, pretty obvious, you know, why they would be that. But Blake, I had to really dig deep and think why she would be the Summer Maiden. Because obviously she's a little emo girl. You know what I mean? Does not fit with summer at all, which you automatically would think, you know, happy, you know. But then I remembered what the Summer Maiden was supposed to represent, which is destruction. It's very sad, but Blake is constantly self-destructing. You know what I mean? She's like always like running away from her friends, worried about hurting other people because of her past, that she self kind of like just, you know, destroys her own path all the time. But she learns later that she doesn't have to be that way and that she can trust and lean on the people that she loves and her teammates. So I feel like that's where that story is leading, and I feel like that makes the most sense for her. So each Team RWBY member makes sense for why they would be those things. Like, obviously Ruby has to make a choice, like, does she want to do this or not? You know what I mean?
Which maiden have we not seen?
The Summer Maiden is the only one we have not seen. That's why it's like, for me, it's hard to figure out why that would be Blake, but then it's like, we don't know who the Summer Maiden is, so maybe it's somebody she's close with, maybe not, but...
Well, that's the thing. Nobody knows.
Nobody knows who it is yet. Exactly. Probably Ozpin and, you know, them know, but we don't know as an audience yet. And the girls don't know yet either. So it's like, crap, who's that? That's kind of where that loose end ties.
Well,
but
they're supposed to be kept secret, correct?
Exactly. Exactly. Their identities are they're really not supposed to, you know, show off because they have these immense powers that are dangerous. So if their identity were to be sought out, then people would obviously try to kill them and gain that power, which is exactly what happened with Cinder. She found out who the Fall Maiden was and tried to steal her power. And that is what they are trying to do. They are trying to steal all the Maiden's powers so that Cinder could have all the power. She's basically the what's the word I'm trying to think of?
Emperor?
No. Not at all where I was going with that. Like something that you hold. Anyway, she's basically the container for all these powers. Like that's Salem's plan, is somebody to defeat Ozpin. That has always been her goal. She wants Ozpin gone, because if she can have him gone, she can do whatever the hell she wants. You know what I mean?
And by getting him gone is a reflection of having all 4 maidens' powers.
Exactly, because he gave them their powers. So in turn, it would be destroying Ozpin. That's her goal, which would also be to get back at the 2 brothers, who are also a huge part in this story. One representing light, one representing the dark. You know what I mean? So that's also ties into it, because they sent Ozpin to try to defeat her and to help bring the world back to what it once was, rather than in this selfish state that it currently is in, that she helped create. You know what I mean? So him having dealt with this for hundreds of years, him, realizing he's messed up and there's no way to get it back to that. That's what they're trying to figure out now, because they've already found out she cannot be killed. So how can they defeat her if she can't be killed? So that's where we're at in the story now. Then Salem comes, big ol' freaking war about to happen that I'm so excited for. Full on Lord of the Rings moment about to happen. Very excited for that. But also why I think there's not many seasons left, because they're about to have a war. But I really do hope at the end that I really do think that Team R.W.B.Y will be the maidens, and that's how our story will come to an end. And maybe there's a next generation. That would be dope to see what happens after that. I would really enjoy that.
It seems like there's a lot left to explore as far as character development and everything, but as far as like the world events going on, it seems like
that's what I mean. It's like as
end
a
of series kind of stuff.
So it's like there's potential for them to grow after that, is what I'm excited for, and I hope that Rooster Teeth, do it, please make a second generation. I would be so down. I will help make it happen. I don't know how, but I will. I love this story. I love it so much. I literally have all the pop figures. I have the book. I mean, I'm all in on R.W.B.Y. I love it so much. But my favorite theory is definitely, like, I started talking about it earlier and I was like, nope, I gotta wait because I gotta end on this, because it's gonna take me forever to talk about it, because I already know I'm gonna get crazy about it. And the reason I think this is just there's so much to go with it. There would not be this much information about it if it wasn't a possibility. You know what I mean? I think that Crow is R.W.B.Y.'s dad. I really do. In the world of R.W.B.Y., they stress color theory so much. In the characters, in the world itself, what even the team names have to be a number or not a number, a color, or represent a color, or sound like a color, something like it. That was like one of the rules Monty Oum placed when they're talking about R.W.B.Y. Like, the teams have to represent colors. So Team R.W.B.Y., yes, R.W.B.Y. is the leader, but their names spell out R.W.B.Y. You know what I mean? Team Juniper. It's a, you know what I mean? So it makes sense why, it would be so important in the world itself. I think R.W.B.Y.'s dad is not Ty because it just doesn't make sense. She doesn't look like him, or she looks a lot like her mom in the short glimpses you've seen of her. I mean, she looks like a clone of her mom, honestly.
The wild hair.
Yeah. It's the hood, the hair, the face, everything, the eyes, especially. I mean, her mom had silver eyes. In the clips you could see of her, and just the style, everything, but she also looks a lot like Crow because she has his dark clothing style. I mean, if you look at each kid, and you look at their parents, their style is even like their parents. So you look at Yang. She dresses exactly like Ty, but she has Raven's hair. She gets Raven's red eyes. She has she has Ty's blonde hair. He also taught her how to fight. Why didn't he teach R.W.B.Y. how to fight? Crow taught R.W.B.Y. how to fight. So why would your own father not train you? You know what I mean? Because that makes sense for Yang because they have the same fighting style. You know what I mean? And Blake, when you finally meet her family, she dresses like them too. She's from an island. She's always showing skin, you know what I mean? But she's dark clothes. Everybody wears dark clothes kind of a thing. She looks exactly like her mom. You know, they are, I mean, and that's kind of like a following thing in a lot of animated series. They try to make it to where they look like their parents. So it's known like, yeah, that is my kid. But Ruby looks nothing like Ty. She doesn't have any characteristics of Ty, nothing like him. Even her fighting style, like I said, Crow taught her how to fight.
Yang looks
exactly like her dad.
Which we know.
Exactly. We know that's her dad because they've already established that. But they say that Ty is Ruby's dad. They don't, you know what I mean? They don't enforce it. They don't like drill that into you. Because to me, it doesn't make any sense.
Well, even the relationships.
Yeah, exactly.
You see Ty and Yang.
Oh yeah, they're super close. They have bond, but like you never see really, like you could tell Ty obviously cares about Ruby. He loves her, but it's not to the level that him and Yang have. I mean, they have heart to hearts. Hell, he even joked to her about her losing her arm. Like, Dad, he would joke to Ruby about, hey, you totally, you know, blew the minds of everybody and froze a giant freaking Grim on the top of the school. You know, she had that conversation with Crow, and you even see it in that moment of that scene. Crow, like, pleads to Ty, please, like, I need to talk to my daughter about this. You know what I mean? And he's just, they don't even say words. He just says, Ty, please. And they look at each other, and it's like this mutual understanding, like, I get it, I'll back off. You know what I mean? Why would Ty not have that talk with Ruby if it was not his daughter? Like, that's what I'm saying. Like, all these very crucial points in Ruby's character development, Ty's never freaking there. It's always Crow. Even like when you get into Yang's story about her mom, she's talking to Blake. They have this heart-to-heart about how Yang has felt alone a lot of her life because her mom abandoned her. And how when she was little, she put Ruby in a wagon to go find her mom. They're like 6 and 7 years old. You know what I mean? They're very young. And Yang puts her in this little red wagon and is pulling her along, and they get lost in this forest. This giant Grim comes out apparently, and Crow's right there. He is always there to save Ruby every single time. I mean, think about it. Even when she was with Team Juniper and they go to that town, Crow's right there to save her before Tyrion's there. Like, how? You know what I mean? He's always following her, making sure she's safe, but from a distance. You know what I mean? And if you really, like I said, color theory is so important in the show. She dresses exactly like him. I mean, they even have like the cross details, you know what I mean? Like, and not to mention, she modeled her weapon after his. Not, you know, like Ty fights with his fists, Yang made gauntlets, you know what I mean? For her fists. Why would Ruby not fight like that? You know what I mean? And Ruby modeled her scythe just like Crow's because he is her biggest inspiration. You know what I mean? She wants to be like her uncle, and she loves her uncle so much, and she's, you know what I mean? Even when, like, at the beginning of the season, when I think it's season 2, when you meet Weiss's sister, Winter, which is very funny, by the way, Winter, duh. She's the Winter Maiden, supposed to be, and then it doesn't happen. Anyway. You notice that Ruby is instantly like, that's my uncle! Like, she gets so excited because she sees her uncle, and she's like, what? Like, Weiss is like, that's your uncle? Like, but also, Weiss, looks just like her. But like I said, she modeled her weapon after his, and he trained her. There's no reason why they would have this immense connection if it wasn't for him being her father. And there's so many people who are like, well, that also doesn't make sense because Ruby, like, that would be such a horrible thing. Like, if Ruby were to find that out. And I'm like, but think about it. In any, like, story with heroes, they have a huge downfall before they have their rise. You know what I mean? So if she were to find out, yes, they have lied to her entire life about who her real father is. But think about it. She'd probably also be like super excited because she loves Crow so much. And here's this biggest inspiration in her life, you know? And not to mention, like, I think Ruby would understand why he did it because, like I said, his semblance is misfortune. And I think Crow's biggest fear was that he would hurt Ruby. And he didn't want to be close to her all that time because I think possibly, because we don't know much about Ruby's mom. We know that she left to go on this mission and it was for Ozpin to stop Salem. And then she dies. You don't know the whole story yet. We know very little of her mom, but I also think it's a possibility that she might have been with Crow. And that there was misfortune that happened because he cannot control his semblance. And then that's how she died. And he probably blames himself for it. And that's why he's been a drunk his whole, you know what I mean? Because he lost the love of his life. Then he can't even raise his kid because what if something like that happens to her? So he entrusted Ty with his daughter so he could still be close to her because that was his best friend. You know what I mean? And also his sister's husband. You know what I mean? It's his, you know, so I feel in a way that there is no other option, that Crow is her dad. It makes the most sense story-wise, character development-wise, and why he would care so much for Ruby. Now, don't get me wrong, he loves Yang, but like I said, it's not even the same kind of relationship, like same thing with Ty. He loves Ruby, but it's not as big of a relationship as it is with Yang. So, you know, Crow, I really do feel that he's going to have a lot of character development in this next season. And, he stopped drinking in this past season, and I feel like he also met you know what I forget what they're called, but they're the elite squad basically, and this guy's semblance is good luck, and so it gave Crow a sense like, okay, I don't have to be this bad luck charm. I feel like maybe, you know, he could hone in on his semblance, and maybe he was just too scared to really learn it, because they stress that too in the series, that your semblance, you could think it's one thing and it really is representing another thing. Kind of like how you think Jean doesn't even have one, and then you find out that he can give his aura to people. You know what I mean? So I feel like Crow is going to have this immense come up story, and he's going to be able to control his semblance eventually, because he probably doesn't know how to control it. He's too terrified to use it. You know what I mean? Because he can't figure out when it's going to help him or hurt him. So I feel like he's going to have this great come up. Ruby will have her downfall, which also would be Crow's, but then they come back together, you know what I mean? And here's this happy ending. I really do feel like that would be an amazing character development, not just for Crow, but for Ruby as well. She's our main hero. She needs to have that hit that it's personal to her, not just the entire series. Because that's what I feel like they've shown a lot. Is like, yes, they've had their downfall, but as a group. But she's the main protagonist. She is what the whole story is about. She's Dorothy, you know what I mean? So she needs to have that moment where it's a fall, a hurt, for her to get back up from. And I really do hope that, you know, that this theory, they do go in on it. I really do think that's where it's going, but I really hope that it does. And even if they don't say it, I know in my heart it's true. I know it. It's her dad. You can fight me. But definitely go check out RWBY. It's an amazing series. I love it so much. Probably one of my favorite series like of all time. I've watched it I don't know how many times now. I every time there's a new season, I rewatch it, and then I've showed other people and I watch it with them. So I've lost count of how many times I've seen this series over and over again, but it's just so good. Not to mention the music's kick ass. Music's amazing. I won't get into that. That's a whole different thing. Anyway, check out R.W.B.Y. You can see it on Rooster Teeth and YouTube. Go support them. Amazing animators. Definitely love the series. And like I said, it's not easy being geeky, but you get through it. Thanks again, you guys, for all the support. Hope you liked the episode. Go check us out on all our social medias, Not Easy Being Geeky, and check us out on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and YouTube. Oh, and Google Play. Thanks again, guys. Really appreciate all the support. Have a great day.